Hey everybody, I'm back. Welcome to part 3 of how to build yourself a butcher block countertop for a small kitchen. Today we're going to put the templates on the countertops. We're going to take our jigsaw and we're going to cut out around the inside of the line of the template. Before I do that, I usually drill some holes in the corner. If I have a corner radius, which most sinks do, you drill them out, you'll see that. And then the last part will be flush trimming to the jig. And the exciting part, because I had a little bit of a kickback, I filmed the whole thing. Enjoy the last little bits of part 3. And if I can do it, you can do it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the template on here and lay out where the sink goes. Ooh. And then I'm going to make a template out of plywood, which is right here. And then what we're going to do back here is going to put like a 1-inch spline that goes all the way through. Oh, it goes in about 5 inches. And we're going to spline that together so I can take and put this one in place and then slide this one next to it and then glue it together that way instead of putting dominoes in there or something like that, because then we have to either lift up the center and push it down or lift the wings up and drop it. And this thing together is probably 120 pounds. And I ain't doing that. I might be strong, but I ain't that strong. So I'm going to lay out the templates right here. This says right out, which goes right here. And this goes in like this here. And the seams should line up with the seams, line up with the seams. All right, there we go. So the sink is going to go in here. And it needs to have a radius put in it. And it's going to come all the way out past this to the end. And we're just going to round over the outside a little bit. So we're making the template for the sink cutout. And I forgot I was going to film this. So I already started. I did a start and stop cut on my table saw using top dead center and a couple of fancy little marks I drew on here. But this has a little curve, right? It's a 3 1/4 inch circle radius. And that's actually in the sink itself. So we have to get this radius in here. I'm getting off track. And I want to cut the back square too. So if you have top dead center marked on your table saw, there's a video over here on top dead center and why it's there. I have a top dead center mark right here on my saw. I measured over from here to where the blade goes and disappears into the insert. And that is 3 1/8 inches. This is the top. And this is 3 1/8 inches away, 3 1/8 away from here. And that's because this stop here and this stop here are just before that radius. The blade where it goes into the insert, this length right here is important. If you're going to flush trim or roller out a pattern onto a butcher block, you don't want saw curve marks in there. You don't have to fill it in with epoxy to make it smooth and all that. You just want it to be as straight as possible. What we're doing now, I'm going to take this guy right here. I have the center of the sink marked right here. This is the end. I don't know if you can see any of this, I'm not sure. But there's a stop mark right here. I don't want to go past this mark. So this is where I'm going to stop my saw blade, where it's going to come through the top. So this will be top dead center. And right here is where the blade's going to stop on the underneath side. All right, I don't know if this is going to come out or not. Here's the top dead center here. This is 3 1/8 away, all right? So this 3 1/8 mark is going to line up with this 3 1/8 mark. And then I'm going to raise the blade until it comes up. So we're going to put the blade all the way down. And we're going to perform a lifter cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm lining this mark up here with this mark here, and I'm going to raise the blade up. I have this mark that way, so the blade's going to come up here, and I'm actually just going to pull it slightly towards me, which is not a safe thing to do. If you're a beginner, don't do that. And then I'm going to run it till it hits this stop mark here, and then I'm going to stop. And that'll be the tip of the blade and the tip of the blade. All right, so blade's down, that's forward 1 inch. I'm going to raise it up, slide it back till it hits this mark. I'm going to push it forward till it hits this mark, and we're done. Wow. All right, here we go. And there you go. Okay, so what's going to happen now is I'm going to finish this jig up. I'm going to cut out the radius and all that. We'll sand it, make it smooth and beautiful. I'm going to put these two pieces together up here on the bench. I'm going to set this on top just to double check everything, make sure it's good. Then I'm going to cut this out, all this out here with the saber saw within, or jigsaw, whatever you want to call it, probably within a 1/16 of an inch. And then I'm going to use a huge flush trim router bit and flush trim this whole thing out. And well, I'll film all that because you can see the craziness. All right, we finally got the jig made. I'm all jigged up. And it looks pretty good. It's pretty flat. And it's very, fits the template. Smoother the better. The smoother the jig is, the less sanding you're gonna have to do on your piece because it'll transfer all the little lumps and bumps that are on your piece. Actually, you know, if this is all lumpy and bumpy, it's gonna transfer it right onto your piece, and then you're gonna have to sand it more. So if you sand this edge a little better and make it smooth and you blend it together, you'll have less problems. You can only imagine if you had like a nick in this, and then you go to flush trim something, it's gonna transfer that nick right onto your piece, and that won't be any good. All right, so here's the jig for the butcher block countertop, and we're gonna cut that out tomorrow. All right, hey everybody, I'm back. All right, so I got them flipped around. I put little, I don't know, stops on my jig that I made. So I can just take this here, butt it right into the edge, and clamp it down. And I've got my cutout right here in pencil. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drill 3/8 holes right here and here, and probably in here too, straight down, about an 1/8 inch away from the line. So when I go to cut it, I can actually turn my blade and get as close as possible to the radius in the corner. Here we go. All right, now we got to put it on the other side. Try to drill it out as straight as possible. If you're doing anything like cutouts on thick maple, you definitely want a brand new blade. I want to see what I'm doing, and I don't want to miss. So I'm going to stay about 1/8 of an inch away in case my blade starts deflecting and doing weird things. It's the end grain, so it shouldn't do that too much. But if it was side grain, like it's going to be right here, I'm going to stay away even farther because side grain has a tendency, the blade just follows the grain of the wood. All right, here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and do this side now. When you're doing this, don't push it forward. Let the saw do the work and just kind of guide it and just hold steady. Don't push, just let it cut by itself. Maple is something else. Yeah, this blade is just so flimsy, it'll just follow anything. And I could have set this up on the table saw and cut these edges here But pushing this thing that weighs 60 pounds, then starting it and stopping it and where the blade is and all that, it's just, we'll take care of it this way. All right. Well, that was interesting. Well, there we go. I'm going to route this out first thing in the morning. I got other things to do. I got some plans I got to draw up for another job. All right, people, we'll see you tomorrow. Hey, everybody, I'm back. Yesterday, I was going through the footage and realized that I had this magic button in my pocket down here, and it shut off the camera when I was routing this notch out back down here. This is about 5 inches long. It's a ½ inch in, so it's a ½ inch deep and a ½ inch tall. And I made this little popsicle looking stick thing with 2 radiuses on it. That'll slide right in here. So when I go to install it, I'll put glue on it and I'll slide it in place. And that way I could slide one past the other. So if this one, let's say this is installed here, what I'll do is I'll just bring this one in along the side of it, slide it into place, and boom, that'll hold it together. Voila, and it'll keep it nice and flat, and it's very flat. So all I have to do, I'll just have to sand this with a orbital sander on site after I glue it up and it dries, and that'll be that. But how I did that was with this little wing cutter and a series of 3 different bearings. So that's what I did. I used the wing cutter that's a 1/4 inch, and I used a series of 3 different bearings to get the depth for this 1 inch piece down here. And yeah, there you go. So that's the whole part you missed. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to attach this backer, put some screws in it, and I'm just going to screw it together back here. All right, now that's like that. This is across the back. That'll help hold it together, keep it from separating when we're routing the thing apart. This is going to be messy. So I brought in old dust collector Joe over here, who I'm just going to put up here on the jig. So hopefully nothing comes apart, nothing flies apart. Keep your fingers crossed, everything works out well. I'm going to start on the end grain first. I'm going to have to start over here and work I'm going to always climb feed until I get close to the last pass, and then I'm going to push it. So good. You saw that, right? So speed, how much you want to hold on to it. Clean up some of this mess. Yeah, that was a hell of a bouncer. That bounce was my fault. I wasn't holding on to it right, and this thing was kind of in my way. I should have flipped it around the other way. Now I'm going to go climb feet again, back this way. Feels pretty good. Let me see what happens. Yeah, it's just a bearing. All right. This thing is hogging off a lot of material. You have to be super careful when you're hogging off lots of material that you don't do what I did here, because I got stuck on this thing. Like, meep. So if you're just new to this woodworking sport, I don't think I wouldn't jump into flesh trimming 1.5 inch thick material with a huge router, especially if you've never done it before. Gets kind of crazy, kind of wacko. The router wants to take off on you. You saw it do it to me. That was basically my own fault, because I wasn't really holding on to it that tight, because I was just floating. So here's our wonderful jig, and there's our wonderful cutout. You can see it came out pretty good. Try that. There it is. That corner right there has got a little bit of a hiccup in it, but we'll fix that. There's the seam, and there's the seam on the top. All right. All right, well, there you go. There you go, here's the seam. I'm gonna sand this up really quick. I'm gonna sand the edges. I might flip it up to do so. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah. Voila, there it is. Hopefully I recorded this right and we got all the parts that we wanted to record, because yesterday I was having such a fiasco with this in my pocket and I kept turning on and off and on and off and on and off. I broke my microphone like 3 times. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. Fling, fling, bang, bang. You have an awesome day. Go outside and play. Hug somebody you love, because that's important. Aww. You never know. You know, hug somebody you love. All right. You be safe out there, and I'll see you next time right here on the YouTubes. And thanks for watching Woodworking with Mr. Kevin, because that's me. All right. We'll see you soon. Bye. Magic button. All right. Am I in tune? How do you like my hat? I feel like a weirdo. So if you sand this edge a little better. No. All right, here we go. Okay. Want to hear the most annoying sound ever? Listen. Yeah, it's my neighbor's dogs being murdered. No. Oh, yeah, dude, really? Don't! Again, the whole damn thing. I keep turning this off when I All right, well, there you go. I don't know. All right. Next.